Hello guys, I'm Ty, which you may know as Terran City, and here we are here to review the sequel, Desolation, which is the sequel to last year's Demon Row, which was a book I actually really enjoyed. It wasn't a perfect book, it had its issues, and I don't think it's one of Derek Landy's best books, but I think it's better than some people. Some people were generally positive towards it, but there were some people who were very much disappointed. I thought it was okay. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't his best book, but it was a decent first outing. It did its job well of setting up the characters, setting up the universe, and setting up certain events for the last two books, since this will be a trilogy, as he mentioned. So I thought it was good, and I was actually quite looking forward to Desolation. I thought that with this book that he may actually, take the problems with the first book and improve on it. And quite a lot of people was quite looking forward to this until it was released, and that's when we get into the divisive, because this book was very divisive by some people. It's kind of separated into three parties, and that is either you like it, you hate it, or you're in between. And that kind of was concerning for me, because that was kind of shocking. I wasn't expecting that, because a lot of people seem to like all of Derek Landy's books, even the bad ones like Dying of the Light, but that's a different story. But I read the book, but yeah, anyway. I read the book, went in with an open mind, and I actually did quite enjoy it. Now, before anyone who hates this book questions, I just want to point out, no, this is not a perfect book. This is definitely a flawed book. It has its issues, and it's not a book that's gonna make you go, "This is a flawless book, 10 out of 10, best book ever." No, it's a flawed book, and some of the points that some people made about it, I do agree on. But I rather enjoyed it. It's not as good as the first book, but it's definitely better than what people are giving it. But anyway, let's get into the plot. The plot is that it takes place after the events of the last book. Milo and Amber are running away from the Shining Demon, who has sent 5 hellhounds, kind of like bounty hunters, and they're they're trying to go after Amber and send her back to hell, Milo if necessary. And so that all leads them to Desolation Hill, this town that was mentioned in the first book, and a town that seems nice, but it also has one big secret. And that one big secret is is one night. It's kind of like this festival that gets mentioned. And so now they have to figure out what is going on, and all hell breaks loose. And while that's going on, you have this mystery gang who are trying to go after this child kidnapper, and then you have these 2 old actors who was also intertwined with the story, and all this crap's going on. So, there's quite a lot of stuff going on in this book. There's even a lot more stuff going on than you may think. But it wasn't overall, the story was interesting. It did have me hooked. I was interested to see what this festival was, even though I kind of predicted it, but it's fun. Let's focus on some of the positives. The positives. First off, Milo and Amber. I think they're really good in this. I think they're by far the best part of this entire book. They have great chemistry with each other, and you can tell that since the events of this book and the last book, you can tell their friendship has kind of grown, and they kind of gotten used to each other. And I like that. And they even have some great scenes. In fact, their scenes are by far the best part of this book. Especially one talking to Cat, which I thought was kind of sweet. Another positive, most of the positives come from the characters, but anyway. The other positive is actually these actors, who I actually think are actually very entertaining. I actually thought they were very funny. Well, okay, not funny, but they had me smiling at part, and the chemistry is great. And they're playing more of the comic release of this book, since the book is kind of dark, which we'll get into. They're just kind of there to lighten it up a bit. The writing. I thought the writing, while some of it is a little cringeworthy, there was some good dialogue sequences. There was some really funny, really interesting dialogue. the Derek Landy style writing is still there. It's not completely gone out of this, and that was cool. The action was decent. It was well written, and wait, what was it? Yeah, that's kind of about it though. Yeah, the characters were good. Milo and Amber were good. The two actors were good. There were some great character moments. The writing is solid, and the story was interesting. And the ending, I actually liked the ending. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good setup to the third one. So, when you get right down to it, that's actually kind of 5 things. You put the actors with Milo and Amber, and that kind of counts as 5 good things. Now, I will talk about the bad things, but I want to get into some of the in-between. The ones that are good, but also bad. The ones in between. The Scooby game. No, the Scooby game aren't in this, but there is a Scooby clone in it. They're basically Scooby parodies. And I thought they were actually okay. They were fun. They had a great chemistry together. And they've also proven themselves to be quite awesome, actually. They're actually proving that you do not mess with these guys. Which I thought was cool. It gave them a bit more something other than just being a Scooby gang. At least that. And that'd be kind of interesting if this was a Scooby gang. Anyway. The hounds were intimidating. They weren't creepy, but they were intimidating. That's kind of what a villain should be. And the dark tone. And the tone of this, people tend to complain about the fact that I don't know if this is true or not. This is just what I've heard. But people tend to complain about the dark tone. I don't really know, guys. Personally, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the whole dark tone. I didn't mind the lack of humor. I thought that it was good because this is a sequel, and I'm glad that for a sequel they actually went that approach, which was kind of ballsy. And now that kind of transitions to some of the stuff I didn't like, which was, while the dark tone is good, it ends up leading to a lot of violence. Because if you guys don't, now, let me straighten myself, because now my mind's scattered. Now there was violence in the first book. Now, I'm not going to deny that. There was violence in the first book, but it was kind of there for a reason. In this book, it's just violence for the sake of violence. Now, if you guys are wondering, I don't have a problem against violence. I don't have a personal issue against violence in both movies, comics, or books, or TV shows. I'm fine with it. But I feel like it needs to have a purpose. If you're going to have violence in your story, you need to have a purpose. Otherwise, you're just doing it just for the hell of it. The violence in this book, some of it is necessary, but then there are times where you're like, okay, we get it. Could you please tone it down a bit? So that was an issue. Another issue, and then we get into the Scooby Gang. And while some of them are fun and entertaining, there are some that are just kind of there. One is a stereotype, and the other one has a kind of a romance with Amber. Now, I won't say if it's a he or a she. I want you to read the book if you want to read the book, that is. But they start to get a romance between those two, and it's not a bad concept. In fact, it's actually not terrible. It's not terrible. I mean, this has been done numerous times. But it's because of the age of them. Not to mention it comes the heck out of nowhere, and it doesn't even have a payoff towards the end. And that was kind of the issue with that, is that the ages are just downright creepy, and it doesn't pay off, and it just comes right the heck out of nowhere. And while the hounds are intimidating, the way they're defeated is some of the most laziness I've ever seen. I've not seen anything lazy from Derek since the ending of Dying of Light, which was the biggest laziness and the biggest middle finger. Which was disappointing because we were setting up such a great threat that when we find out how they can be defeated, it kind of makes you go, why didn't the heroes think this up? Because a certain character from the first book makes an appearance and he tells them this. I won't tell you who it is, but this character from the first book says, "Oh, this is how you defeat them," and it kind of makes you wonder, why didn't you just kill it? Why didn't you just do this in the first place? And it kind of makes our characters feel dumb. And then there's other inclusions of the characters from the first book. Speaking of which, that kind of just felt like, no, please no. But okay, whatever. So that's all I have to say. Look, Desolation is not a perfect book, as I said. It's a flawed book. It has its issues, and it's a rather big of it is a rather bit of a step down. It's a step down from the first book. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a step down. It has more issues than the first book, which was a shame. But overall, I like it. It's not a book that I'm gonna rush out. It's not a book that I'm gonna be like, I want to read it again. It's much like the first book. But overall, I liked it. The characters are still the characters from the first book. I liked Amber and Milo's relationship. I thought the two actor characters were fun and they had great chemistry. I thought there was some great character moments. The dialogue is just as solid. The story is interesting, and the ending is a great setup to the last book. But while there are some things that do hold it back, there is a lot of potential for them. So overall, I'm going to give this a 6.5. It's a 6.5 or maybe a 6 out of 10. It's not a perfect book, but hey, it's better than what people are saying. And it's definitely better than a pile of garbage that is dying to die. And it's because of the fact that I like the book that I would be looking forward to the third book. Which I would, if this came out next year. But it's not. The third book comes out this month. And sorry for my random backlash, but it's the last book, and like I said, Dying of Light. But wait, we'll wait and see. We'll see how it turns out. So yeah, see ya.